Well, ladies and gentlemen, today is getting ridiculous. Now, obviously, you are seeing this in two parts, but I've just come back from driving the McLaren GT, a brand new ultra spec GT. Looks absolutely stunning, all blacked out. And behind me, you can see that a GoPro is set up on this 720s, and we have got trade plates ready to go out on a test drive because I am, well, I've got a little bit of a confession to make. You all know that I've got this weird McLaren itch that I've been having since driving McLarens, and all of a sudden, everything is becoming that little bit more attractive as the prices drop. I will get on to talking about the price drop of this particular McLaren 720s when we go out for a drive, but seeing as I'm down at McLaren Hatfield, I thought that I could kill two birds with one stone. Go and drive that McLaren GT, experience it out on some dry roads and not torrential rain, but then actually come and refresh my brain on the McLaren 720s, because obviously I drove this car in Rome ages ago for the McLaren International Press Drive. I've had a few experiences with the McLaren 720s Coupe and Spider, but it feels like ages since I've driven one of these cars, and seeing as they are dropping in price below £170,000, the price that I paid for my Lamborghini Huracan, it's got me thinking. I know I can't replace the Lamborghini Murcielago in terms of emotion and raw feeling, but maybe you can replace that and substitute emotion with speed. Now this is hands down the fastest car that you can buy for under £170,000. So I thought that I would go for a test drive and explain a little bit more in depth and detail as to why I have this McLaren itch, and what I'm going to do about it. All right then, I feel like there is a lot to cover in this video. I'm going to cover everything that I know about McLaren ownership without actually owning one, because I know a few people that have owned them, and I'm also going to cover everything that has happened between the last time I drove a McLaren 720s and what has happened in terms of where this obsession for the 720s has come from. And I think the main thing and the main places it's come from is that how much more accessible the 720s is now as opposed to when it first came out. I think that's the number one thing that we need to talk about and take into consideration. But this is a used car that I saw on Auto Trader, and it is up for around £163,000. £163,000, yet the list price of it was £264,000, there or thereabouts. So this is quite a good comparison as well, to talk a little bit about how different this is to the GT. So you're sat much closer to the front wheels. You really have a race car driving position, which I absolutely love. There goes the vehicle raising, the nose lift is going down. Let's go and try and find some nice roads. So let's talk about where my obsession for the McLaren 720s has come from. When it first came out, didn't really understand the looks. It has completely grown on me since a few aftermarket modification companies have come out with new carbon fibre bonnets, aero kits, exhaust systems. This is becoming, hands down, the hottest car to modify, especially in America. I think people in the UK are a little bit too scared to modify this car. But that is one of the massive attractions that I have to this car, is the accessibility to aero kits, spoilers, wheels, exhaust systems, to make this car unique and to make it my own. So that is number one. Number two, the price. It has depreciated, this car has depreciated £100,000. £164,000, you cannot get anywhere near the performance that you get from the 720s in any other car at that price bracket. I've fallen in love with the front end of the 720s, and as soon as you put that rear wing up as well, it transforms the stance and the look and the road presence of this car. And I don't think there is any other car that I would want to replace my Murcielago with than a 720s. Maybe a Huracan Performante. That's the only other car that gets me excited like this car does. And it feels weird to say that a McLaren gets me excited. Whoa! The gears are going all over the place. I haven't actually got it in manual. Should probably do something about that. Now, the 720S has progressively put a smile on my face in terms of the way that it looks, in terms of the modification, in terms of the price, which has then meant I've started to consider McLaren ownership, to the point where I've started to consider getting rid of my Murcielago for one of these, my dream Lamborghini, and swapping it for a McLaren 720S. And I can imagine everyone now is going, you are absolutely mental, what the hell is wrong with you? And I think sometimes I do ask myself the same question, because it is known to the world that McLaren ownership sometimes isn't plain and simple, fine and dandy. Oh, massive moment. Oh, my GoPros are still on, yep. So, we all know TGE, Sam Seen Through Glass, Tony Gravelwood have all owned McLarens and have not bought another one. They bought brand new. Pretty sure Tony's was brand new. If it wasn't, it was nearly new. And in terms of the ownership experience, from what I saw, there were a few teething electrical problems and a few sort of build quality issues, but nothing major. Like, I've heard some horror stories coming out of McLaren ownership. Now, from Tony, from Tom and from Sam, their stories aren't enough to put me off from spending my own money on one of these cars. So take what you want from that statement, but I don't think the moments that they had with their cars takes away from the enjoyment that you would have from driving one of these cars. Now, the problem has come from them buying brand new. So buying brand new McLarens, you're going to lose a lot of money, and that's when you get a sour taste in your mouth and your wallet after the experience. So they've bought brand new cars, they've driven them, they've enjoyed them, had a few teething issues with build quality and electrical problems, and then sold them for not that much money in comparison to what they paid for it. So the whole process might have been balanced out with the pros and the cons, but then the major con has been that they've lost money. I think buying a pre-owned McLaren right now is pretty good value for money. The 675 LT is around £200,000 for what I think is the best McLaren I've ever built, the 675 LT. But because it's limited and because it's a very, very special car, I don't want to buy that car because I want to customize it and I want to modify it and I want to show that you can have fun in a McLaren and the ownership experience isn't as bad as people are making out. So that's one thing that I'm really keen, and why I want to get in one of these cars, because they're so fun. They are a go-kart. Parker from Vehicle Virgins sold his Lamborghini Huracan that was supercharged to 800 brake horsepower to buy a 600 LT. That shows that there is a demand for the brand and an attraction to the brand that I have, and I feel like I want to do something about it. Oh, straight line speed, there's nothing quite like it. There is nothing quite like a raw, aggressive McLaren acceleration. I think the best thing to do, or the best way into a McLaren, is to buy pre-owned, to buy a car that's already depreciated. This car has already lost £100,000. A McLaren 720S cannot go below £140,000, £150,000. It just can't. For the price, people will start snapping them up at £140,000, £150,000, and the supply and demand is going to shift. But it also can't sit below a 570S or a 600 LT because it's the Super Series, not the Sports Series. So everything is going to level out, and I think this is going to be a really, really good car to buy in about 6 months' time. Oh man. I cannot imagine this car with a straight-through exhaust system, a cool aero kit, an insane wrap, wheels. I would go to town if I owned a McLaren 720S. I really would, which I know McLaren wouldn't like, but I don't care. It's my car. If I paid money for it, then I would actually do whatever I want to do with it. So, some serious food for thought, and I'm not just making this video for the sake of it. January, February next year, that is when I'm seriously considering buying a supercar, and at the moment it's between a Huracan Performante and this. The problem I have with the Huracan Performante is I've had a Huracan, great car, didn't feel like a Lambo. I know the Performante is hardcore, I know that it's louder, I know that it's more aggressive. It just felt like a Lambo should be difficult to drive and have imperfections. And the Huracan Performante is the closest thing to automotive perfection that exists. So I'm heading back to McLaren Hatfield now, having test driven a 720s. I like it to drive. I do like it to drive. I think it needs a few tweaks here and there, a little bit of a personal touch to add a little bit of flavour to this car, and then I would be super happy to have one of these sat on my driveway, because it is the best value for money supercar that you can buy, hands down. No argument there. Yes, the ownership experience has been questioned in the past, but I would love to demyth Lamborghini McLaren ownership, because you'll see where my train of thought is. I've demythed so much about the Murcielago ownership. Everyone was like, you're going to get bankrupt driving that car, it's going to just break down all of the time. That car's not broken down once. It is the most reliable supercar I've ever owned. I've had one engine light, it was a fuel injector that cost 90 quid to replace. It is an absolute dream to own the Murcielago, but there were so many people that had never owned a Murcielago that said it would be the worst car you've ever, or the worst thing you've ever bought. And it's the best thing I ever bought. So I think from now on, I'm going to ignore anyone that tries to tell me otherwise or advise me on what car to buy, and I'm just going to go and buy what I want. That's the best way I can finish this video, and I think that's a message that I can spread to everyone. Don't listen to what anyone has to say. Their opinion doesn't matter when it's your money and you want to spend it how you want. Unless it's your girlfriend or wife, then listen. I'll see you soon, guys. Take care, and thank you very much for watching, and hopefully you've seen an insight into the world of McLaren through this video. But I have to say, I think it is time for a McLaren to feature on the Supercars of London YouTube channel as an ownership experience, as I'm looking straight at the 675 LT. 720s is better, it's cooler. Alright guys, I'll see you later. I'm going to reverse this next to my Focus ST, and once I've done that, I shall say goodbye. Yep. Good car. See you soon, guys. Take care. Goodbye.